I'm Sonya Morton Firth and you're tuned in to the Sonya Morton Firth Show.
Today my guests are father and son, Mike and Liam Byrne. Both have had extraordinary childhoods. Watch this interview as we explore a non-traditional way of bringing up a son and the father-son dynamic and how it has evolved from past generations.
I believe health is the greatest form of wealth we have, which is why I'm so excited to be partnered with Brother in Arms. Brother in Arms is a wellness brand dedicated to working with veterans, first responders, and anyone on the front line. Through their education, support, and premium CBD products, they help alleviate and restore the lives of those that have been affected by physical and mental trauma. Learn about the life-changing benefits and power of CBD. Join their community today. Hit the link below. Hi there, and today we've got a very special interview which I'm very excited about, and I'd like to welcome Mike and Liam, who are father and son, and this should be quite exciting because today we're going to be talking about a father-son relationship from both father and son that have had completely different backgrounds, both extraordinary. But let's just dive into that a little bit more. Firstly, welcome, Mike, Liam. Lovely to have you on my show.
Lovely to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Mike, I'm going to start with you first. Could you give me a little bit of background, a little short version of who you are and your journey?
Okay, my journey, I'm going to have to start at the beginning because I will digress phenomenally. So, my biological father was paranoid schizophrenic, so a real proper mental health issue. We'd never had any clocks or mirrors in the house because they would speak to him. He wasn't a nice man. He was a heavy drinker, bad gambler. I say bad gambler because he lost all the time, which it's not actually that funny because then we would bear the brunt of that. Well, certainly my mother was a very violent man. Luckily enough, we got rid of him when we were just young, but living in the same town as him made things extremely difficult for my sisters and I because because of his illness, and if he took his medication, he would go off the radar and he'd be fine. But when not taking his medication, he would be doing stupid things. He'd be in the local paper for committing petty crimes. Subsequently, we'd get bullied at school because of this. I was lucky my older sister, was hard as nails, so I would just cry. She'd come and run and save me, beat the shit out of the guys that picked on me. I struggled through primary school. By the time I got into high school, I started kind of sticking up for myself, fighting back, running around with football casuals, getting into a lot of trouble, fighting.
Now, just to set that scene, we're talking about the 70s, right? Sorry, I don't want to age you
Yeah,
here.
sorry.
70s, 80s.
Yeah, 70s, late 70s, 80s for the football casual type thing. Jumping back a few years, there was a time in my childhood I was sexually abused by our local football coach. He was also a policeman. I've never. I don't feel I've ever suffered because of it. It went to court. Thankfully, I'm kind of quite proud of myself looking back, because when I spoke out about it, it then came to light that this policeman, football coach, had been abusing a load of boys.
Wow.
So it went to court, and yeah, he was sentenced to prison. So it was something massively good come of that, and I think that's what I've done with my life. Any negative thing that's happened, I've took a positive out of it. And, you know,
Did that influence the rest of your childhood?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I did go through a spell of hating the police, but that wasn't because of him. I was running around with football casuals and the police were spoiling our
Were you
fun.
getting in a lot of fighting?
We were getting into an awful lot of fighting.
So, Mike, so you've just told me, so you were sexually abused, you were involved in a lot of fighting, and you had a schizophrenic father that pretty much left you. Sorry, it's not painting a pretty picture of your childhood.
God, it was amazing, actually. No.
Is that why you joined the military?
I actually ended up having to join the military
Tell me about that.
due to the fighting. Like I say, we were fighting all the time, but there was an incident. I just turned 16. It was a local party. A few guys had gate crashed. They decided to let them in. It caused more trouble to try and get them out, but it didn't quite work like that. Long story short, we did end up fighting, and I ended up being charged with attempted murder.
Oh, well, how you were 16?
I was
at this
16,
point.
yeah, but I obviously didn't try and kill the guy, but the injuries that he sustained with me hitting him warranted me being charged initially with attempted murder. So my social worker, I'd already had a social worker with the trouble that I'd been in, had said to me that you're going to jail for this. There's just no escaping this. You've got too much previous, albeit petty fighting and things. This is serious. You're definitely going to jail. I went to court for a pre-trial, and the judge, my social worker said to the judge, he is contemplating joining the military if this is still an option. And the judge's eyes lit up, and he said to me, I'm going to defer sentence for 6 months. If you come back here and you're in the military, we will relook at things. If you're not in the military, I can promise you, you will be doing a custodial sentence.
So the military saved you from going to prison, basically.
100%. And it gave me joining the military let me refresh. I was joining with a bunch of, everybody at the time was 16, it was a junior leaders regiment. So I was going there, nobody knew anything about me, and I went there and I was like the ultimate grey man. I kept myself to myself. I didn't talk about what I'd done in the past. I didn't, a lot of young kids talk too much. I sat back and started to excel. The sports, because I was into fitness, I've always been into my fitness. When we'd done the boxing, it's quite handy, so needless to say I was going to win the boxing. And then started playing rugby. Again, it's an aggressive sport, so it was right up my street. Excelled, and then started getting recommended for paracommando training for different things. So yeah, 100% the military saved my life.
Mike, I mean, you've had quite an unusual childhood, I think. From having your father, schizophrenic father, to your sexual abuse and the fighting, nearly going to prison and then going to the military. I'd just like to come on to Liam now and find out a bit more about your childhood, Liam, which I believe has been very different. Do you want to give me some background on your childhood?
Slightly different from my dad's. So I'm 20 years old at the moment, currently working as a professional skydiver and wingsuit coach.
Which is quite unusual for a 20-year-old, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's not normal. But yeah, nothing about my childhood was normal. So going back to like early childhood, I was playing a lot of rugby, doing a lot of kickboxing. If I wasn't doing that, I was out running with my dad, getting beasted. So my life's always, I guess, revolved around fitness and sport. Then when I turned 12, we took things to the next level. So from 12 onwards, we did a lot of expeditions. Starting off with Kilimanjaro when I was 12.
When you were 12 years old?
12 years old, yeah. And then 6 months later, we went to Russia, climbed Mount Elbrus, which is the highest mountain in Europe. We did 500 kilometers through Scandinavia with our own team of Huskies. Cross-country skied across the top of Norway. I spent 5 weeks in the Peruvian rainforest. Like, not normal childhood stuff, certainly different from my dad's upbringing. And then as soon as I turned 16, started skydiving. 17 started wingsuiting, and then from that point my life's basically just revolved around skydiving since then. So I did whatever I could to make it a job. I was living in the back of my van at the drop zone, working towards getting coach ratings. Now I've got them and I'm doing it professionally. And yeah.
Who would you owe your, I guess, childhood to? Was it your father saying, right, Liam, come on, let's do this? Or were you saying, Dad, I want to do this?
I think, I mean, it certainly started off with my dad. He was not pushy, but he was pushing me to do these things. So like if I didn't want to go to rugby, it didn't matter. I was going to rugby. If I didn't want to go to kickboxing, the same thing. He was always pushing me outside my comfort zone, which I think is really important to develop as a person, to gain confidence as a person. And then, yeah, I mean, Kilimanjaro was your idea as well. I want to go to Kilimanjaro because I've always been into nature and into animals. So I was like, oh yeah, we get to go to Africa, see some animals. That was kind of my drive to go. And it was on Kilimanjaro that I realised that, okay, this is kind of the route my life is going to go. I don't want to fall into the normal, 9 to 5 normal life. It was never going to work for me. I needed to be doing, not necessarily mountaineering, but I needed to be doing something difficult that was pushing myself. And yeah, then from there I started to chip in. So I was like, let's go and climb more mountains, let's go do more expeditions. And it was kind of back and forth. You'd suggest a few things, I'd suggest a few things. And we kind of just bounced off each other. We both had that energy and drive to be doing things and pushing ourselves and kind of, I guess, finding what our limits were. And both we were just doing it together. It was like, I mean, the reason we were doing it was purely because we were enjoying it. It was just father, son going on these crazy adventures around the world. And that was it. We were never doing it to prove points to anything. Like, I mean, I never even told any of my friends we were doing these things. It was purely between us. The only exposure it got was when my dad would go tell the local newspaper because he was proud of his son. And I hated that. Like, it was just purely because we were enjoying it and we were getting something out of it. And then the older I got, it was just who I was then. So now I'm just carrying on.
And did you not notice that you were maybe different to or certainly going through a different childhood to your peers in your school?
Yeah, I knew it was different, but it was my normal. So I never, I mean, even looking back, I'm like, it seems a little bit crazy, but it's the way we went about it was always pretty normal. I was never, I don't know, we never talked about these things as being extreme challenges. It was just, they were all very doable challenges. So we never had the mindset of doing crazy things. We were just, I guess, experiencing life. And I guess my dad's thought process was make sure my energy is being channeled into something positive.
What was your thought process, Mike? Why were you bringing up Liam in this way?
I guess I was kind of being quite selfish, reliving youth again. Not through my son's eyes. I wouldn't stand at football training and shout and scream. He'd never played football. But as an example, that's what a lot of parents do. I would suggest we did this and he would go, yeah, Dad, I'm up for that. I've never spoke to Liam as a child. I've always treated him as a person. And I think that's now when we look back and think, and I look back and see photographs and I do think, oh my God, he was young. And was that right to have done that at that age? But when we speak about it, we discussed everything, and it was like, and I, like I say, I always talk to him like another person. So,
do you think your relationship has become stronger because of the experiences that you've shared together?
I mean, it's always been pretty strong because of that. Like you said, I was always spoken to like a person, so we've always been mates rather than father-son. I never got like screamed at for doing anything wrong. It was explained why it was wrong, and then I didn't do it again, kind of thing. So I think we've always had our relationship's not normal at all, and it's always been like that. And especially now that I'm older as well, we're just mates, aren't we? It's not really. I'd never really felt like a father-son relationship. It's always just been like doing things with my mate.
What's Liam taught you about yourself?
Oh, God, I've always known I've been pretty awesome, but we're just kind of highlighting it. No, I think, especially now as he's getting older, he's able to be a much more calming influence on me, because I'm still quite an aggressive person.
Don't come across aggressive, that's for sure.
No, but I am like, I hate bullies. Obviously, with probably being bullied, if I seen anybody getting beaten up in the street, if there's 3 guys beating up 1 guy, I would definitely intervene. I could not get involved. But yeah, I think massive benefits I'm getting now, because like I say, he talks to me, and I used to be the one talking to him, and he'd listen and understand, and so it's reciprocated. Excuse me. When he explains things to me, I listen as well. I don't think I'm the father, I'm right. I think I'm always open to other people's interpretation, and this, especially my son's.
Liam, I want to ask this question. How has your dad made you proud of him?
I think just the effort that's gone into, like, both me and my sister's upbringing, like, he's put in a lot more effort than, like, a lot of my parents, like my friends' dads, growing up, they were just normal dads, nothing wrong with them, but even people's parents were together and stuff. I spent more time with my dad, and my parents were split up. From like a super young age, like taking us to kickboxing every week, which was like a 45-minute drive away. Like he said, becoming like a rugby coach just to be there at rugby, and then pushing me into doing all these expeditions. Like, it's certainly not normal. He certainly didn't need to do that.
But not normal. I love the fact that you say it was not normal, because it isn't. It isn't normal, certainly. But what is normal, and actually isn't. Don't you think the not normal has benefited you?
Oh yeah. The last thing I ever want to be is normal. So when I say not normal, I mean that in a positive way. But yeah, like the life skills that I learned through these experiences, and I would never have experienced them without my dad. So yeah, I'd say probably the effort put into raising me would be what I'm most proud of, and the fact that he can still, half keep up.
And I think that's quite important what you just said earlier as well. The fact that you were separated from your mum at the time. And I think there is a lot of single dads out there that perhaps may look at this and think, well, I don't get the chance to spend a lot of time with my son. What would you say to them if people are watching and dads are watching and saying, I'd love to spend more time with my son, but...
A dad, they've got no excuses. I've got a lot of friends that hardly ever see their kids, but they've got plenty of time to go to the pub, got plenty of time to go to the football, got plenty of time. You've got to make that effort, because you will regret it later on in life. 100%. I'm already getting friends that have regretted missing out on their children's upbringings. You need to put in the effort. As a dad, I chose to bring 2 kids into this world, and that is my responsibility. That is your responsibility as a father. I do get that sometimes the wives are difficult, but you've got to. Your wife, your ex-partner is going to be under. If all you're wanting to do is do good by that child, no woman's going to deny a dad of that. And I blame the parents 100%. And I say, if the kid's a twat, 100% guaranteed, you could be guaranteed the dad will be a twat.
I think it is an important thing you said there. More in that a father can be an important role model for his son or daughter. And do you feel like your dad's been a role model for you, Liam?
Yeah, he's quite clear that he has I wouldn't even say I've followed in his footsteps, because he's never tried to make me do that. He's always been like, do your own thing. Certainly with the fitness side of things, I've taken that from him. He's always been, he's like almost 50 now, and he's in pretty remarkable shape for a 50-year-old. Not to stroke his ego.
Nothing wrong with being 50, sorry.
But yeah, so in terms of like teaching me that anything's possible, I think is the main thing I've taken from my dad as a role model. Anything that he does, there's never any doubt that it can be done, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, and he's installed that in me from such an early age, whether it was with rugby. Like when I was playing rugby, I was pretty good at rugby. So it was, well, if you want to be in the Scotland team, you can be in the Scotland team. Same with kickboxing. If you want to be world champion, you can be world champion. And then the mountains. If you want to climb this mountain, you can climb this mountain. So I think the kind of confidence and the appreciation that actually anything is achievable.
I love that. I love the fact you said that anything is achievable. Don't you think there's a lot of kids that are brought up now that have got all these constraints on them? And that maybe don't believe anything is possible, and then they spend all of their adult life trying to reprogram the mind to think that they can do something because they were told as kids they couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, the phrase I always heard annoyingly growing up, and I hated it, but now looking back, I realise it was very accurate, is mind over matter. So whenever we'd be out on a run or up Kilimanjaro, and anytime we'd be like struggling, it was always mind over matter. But it's true, like your mind is what determines what you can and can't do. As soon as you go, I'm done, I can't do any more, I give up, and you've given up, right? But as long as you've got the mindset of anything is achievable, I can do anything, then as long as you put like the required work in and the preparation in, your body's capable of anything you want to do. It's all like the power. I truly believe in the power of the mind, and I don't think people really understand that because they're not pushed to learn about it. Nobody is like you said, the education system. We're not taught to find out what we're capable of mentally and physically. We're just kind of taught to fit into this like standard, routine that people do. And I think there's a lot of importance by learning from a young age, or at any age, but it's certainly easier at a young age, that yes, you can do anything. You might have to work hard for it, but you can do anything. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the whole motto of my upbringing was, you can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I love it. And Liam, look, you're talking, and I don't mean to sound derogatory, but you're 20 years old, and you've got the rest of your life ahead of you. What do you see for the future? What do you see next for you?
And I want to just challenge myself in different ways and get outside my comfort zone again. So like skydiving is now my comfort zone, and I think we can expand our comfort zone by going back to the expeditions, back to the mountains, back to the Arctic, and do more things like that. I think is where we're heading.
I love that, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And Mike, were you consciously bringing up Liam this way? Do you feel like you were pushed outside your comfort zone when you were younger?
Yeah, no, 100%. I was conscious of the way I wanted him to experience everything he could and understand. I mean, I would suggest things and he would just do it. We would go out for runs and he'd say to me, "Oh, Dad," I'd say, "everybody can be broken. Every single person can be broken." And he'd say to me, okay, maybe he's only 8 or 9, "Oh, you can't break me, Dad." And I says, "Okay, today I'm going to break you, son, okay?" And we'd go out for a run and we'd go up and down steps. And at the top of the steps, I'd say, "How many steps did we run up?" And he'd look at me like I was stupid. So I says, "Okay, we'll go again." So we'd run around maybe a 600-metre loop and back up the steps. At the top of the steps, this time we counted them. There'd say there's 35 steps. He'd say 34. And I'd say, "No, let's go again." So we'd do the whole loop again. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So we'd done this till he was physically just wrecked. I was physically wrecked. We were both physically shot. And as we're going, we're just running back home. And as we get to the house, I speeds up and runs past the house. And that, because he seen us going past the house and never knew how far we were going, he broke. He started crying and I assumed we were going home. And I says, "Congratulations, son, you've just been broken." And I says, "The worst of it is, we were just going to that lamppost and then home." You were so close, but we weren't. It was going to take him the whole 4 kilometres around again, but it took a lot longer than I realised. So it was quite cruel. But I was as physically knackered as he was. So, yeah.
What do you think the secret is of a good father-son relationship? And I'll ask you, Mike, first.
Don't make them something they're not. Don't try and... I was lucky enough to have another childhood, doing all these fun things with my boy. But if your kid's not... My daughter is she's an amazing girl. And equally as amazing as Liam, but in a different way. She would not go skiing. She would not go ice skating. But she'd sit and read books. So she got lots of books thrown at her. She just got a first degree honours for a law degree, and she's picked up her traineeship. I could not be more proud of her as well.
I think they should be very proud of you, Mike, because if it hadn't been for you, by the sounds of it. Do you think your childhood, though, has benefited you in a way? And, you know, I'm sure people look at this and go, well, hang on a minute, he had a schizophrenic father. He was, you know, sexually abused, this, that, the other. You fought. I know we haven't mentioned the fact that one of your good friends died when you were very young.
Yeah, 100%. My childhood was massive benefit to me, because I think anything negative, I've taken a positive out of it, you know. Even sexual abuse, I'd stopped that, and it saved a lot of other kids going through it. I'd stopped that. That guy was stopped in his tracks and put to jail. Everything else, the fitness, the running around, I just made sure my kids were occupied. When they came to me and said, oh, Dad, I was thinking about being invited on a school ski trip or something, I thought, well, a school ski trip is going to be disastrous. It's going to involve lots of alcohol, lots of bad behaviour. And I would say, oh, that's the time when I was thinking about going on a family holiday to Florida. And they say, oh, I would much rather do that then. And then I think, shit, how am I going to get the money to pay to, you know? But then that was up to me to do that. So prevention, cure thing always played a part. Just divert their attentions to something else if I can see that it was going down a potential route of any potential troubles. So yeah, my childhood, 100%. I have no regrets.
And I think that's amazing, because, you know, a lot of people you could have been sitting here a victim of your childhood, and instead you've turned it around to a complete positive and brought up Liam in an amazing way. Liam, I'm going to ask you that question as well. In terms of a secret to a father and son's relationship, a successful relationship, what do you think it is?
I think, like you said, communication in the way that you just talk to them like a person. Like, I don't have any memories of you talking to me like a child. And I think that makes you, I mean, it certainly made me grow up quicker. And also just channeling energy into something. Like, kids have loads of energy. If you're not doing something with them, they'll be putting that somewhere else. And I always had my energy in like fitness and sports and the expeditions we were doing and training for the expeditions we were doing. And like even like 16, like I missed my lad's holiday because I was skydiving with my dad. Like, and I'd much rather be doing that. And I think, yeah, I was always doing stuff, whether it was physical, well, I mean, it was all physical. So I guess I would say the secret is just keep them, certainly for a young guy and girl, just keep them physically occupied if that's what they're into. And if that's not what they're into, like if you're into art or whatever, keep them occupied by doing art. If you're into like anything, just find what they're interested in naturally and just, yeah, submerge them.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your dad?
Well done.
I love it. And Mike, anything that you'd like to say to your son?
He's excelled in everything he's done. I'm just super proud of him. Yeah.
Guys, I think this has been a very unusual interview, and I've loved having you both on my show. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, there's a new interview out every Monday, so hit subscribe and like, and you'll get it straight into your inbox.